All right, guys, so we are doing chapter 5, day 5 today, and we are learning how to write linear equations in standard form. So, reminder of your expectations, you need to make sure that you are taking notes in your OneNote. You need to make sure that you're pausing the video if it's ever going too fast, that you are rewinding if you ever need to hear something or clarify anything. You cannot skip ahead, and you need to make sure that you're answering the questions to the side to the fullest. Right now, I want you to go ahead and pause and do your warm-up. So here are the answers for your warm-up. If you look at number 1, number 2, the highlighted is your final answer. Remember, guys, though, that you could have used a different point. Like you could have used this 6, -1 instead of this 4, 1. You could have used that. Or over here, you could have used 2, 7 instead of -1 and -2. So that might have looked a little bit different for you. And then your answer down here is $56 for 20 video games. Okay, so moving right along, we are learning, if you looked at our learning goal, you want to be able to write equations in standard form. So this is another form. Okay, so we have this form, ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are going to be integers. Guys, that just means that they're going to be numbers. So it might look something, as an example, like 2x plus 3y equals 8, or something like that. That's an example. Okay, a and b cannot be 0, and a must be positive. Guys, these are the things that you're going to mess up on the most. A has to be positive, no negatives in the front. You can have no fractions and no decimals, so they need to be whole numbers just like you see up here. Recognizing standard form, so x and y are going to be on the same side of the equal sign, the coefficients, so the numbers that come before x and y are integers. And there's a constant on the other side. So again, that just, if you look up at my example, this 8 is the constant about. You notice that 2 and 3, the coefficients of x and y, are both integers. Okay, so we now have 3 forms. Okay, so let's write those to the side. We have standard form, which is new. This is the one we just looked at today. So ax plus by equals c. We have our slope intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And then we have our point slope form, which is from yesterday, which is our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So those are our 3 different forms that we have. So if we look at here, let's look at number 1. So we have y equals -4x plus 5. Well, which one does that look like? Well, we have y equals. So if we look here, y equals is our slope intercept. On the next one, we have y minus 3 equals 5 times x plus 4. The only one here, guys, that has parentheses, that's going to be our big indicator, is our point slope. And then the last one, the x and the y are on the same side. So that is our indicator for standard form. Okay. Write equivalent equations in standard form. So what if they give you an equation and you want to write something equivalent to it? Well, you can either divide all terms by the same number, or multiply all terms. Remember, terms, guys, are just the different parts. So like 2x is a term, 6y is a term, 4 is a term. So looking at this, we have 2, 6, and 4 as our coefficients. Well, we could divide all of those by a certain number. What number could we divide those by? Well, we could divide them by 2. So we'd have 2x minus 6y equals 4. We could divide this whole thing by 2. So we have 2x divided by 2, which is just 1x, minus 6y divided by 2, which is 3y, equals 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So that's an equivalent equation. Okay. If we divide it by 2, we could also multiply all terms by a number. So any number, let's just pick 2. I'm going to pick 2. So we could take our 2x minus, 6y, not 3y. 2x minus 6y equals 4. And we could take this whole thing, and both sides we're going to divide by, or we're going to multiply, I'm sorry, by 2. So we're taking 2 times 2x, which is 4x, minus 2 times 6y, which is equals 2 times 4, which is 8. So guys, that's just multiplying or dividing all terms by the same number is how you could find two equivalent equations. There's lots of different answers you could have here. Okay, writing something in standard form. So we are going to have to take something and put it into standard form. This is that ax, this is our new form today, plus by equals c. Okay, so for this, we have y equals mx plus b here. We have y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Well, if we look at our standard form, what is it that we're trying to get to the other side? Well, this x, we want to get over with our y, because notice on standard form we have our x and our y on the same side. So just like we do with any equation, I'm going to take away 2/3 x and bring it over here. Okay. So these cancel out, and I'm left with negative 2/3 x plus y equals negative 1. So that's what I'm left. So now we have our x and our y on the same side and our constant over here. Now remember, when we're talking about standard form, okay, the first number a that's right in front of the x has got to be positive. And there also can't be any fractions. So if you look at ours, this first number is negative. So we've got to get rid of that. And it's also a fraction. So let's talk about first how to get rid of it. So in order to get rid of that negative, essentially what we're doing is we are just flipping the signs of all of these numbers in front of the x and the y, and then also our constant. So instead of negative 2/3, now we have positive 2/3. Instead of plus y, now we have minus y. And instead of negative 1, we have positive 1. Okay. Now our second step here is going to be, we want to get rid of the fraction. And I want you to think about a way that you can get rid of that denominator. If you're doing 2/3, how could you get rid of the denominator? Well, we would just multiply. We multiply by the denominator. So our denominator here is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 3. The whole thing. So now, instead of 2/3, these 3's cancel out, and I just have 2x minus 3 times y, which is 3y, equals 3 times 1, which is 3. So there is our final equation, 2x minus 3y equals 3. You might be wondering, well, Miss Taylor, why is there a minus in the middle instead of a plus? Well, that just means that that is a negative 3 in front of that y. Okay, let's go on to the next one and use similar ideas. So this one starts in point slope form. Okay, so we want to get rid of those parentheses, and we're going to do that by just distributing. So we have y minus 9 equals 1/2 x minus 1/2 times 3, which is 3/2. Okay. So same thing over here. We want to get our x and our y on the same side, and we want to get all of our constants over here. So I'm going to take away my 1/2 x and put it over here. So I have negative 1/2 x plus y minus 9 equals negative 3/2, because these canceled. And then I need to get that 9 over. So I have negative 1/2 x plus y equals 9 minus 3/2. Guys, I'm going to come over here. We have negative 3/2 plus 9. I want to get common denominators, so negative 3 halves. Okay, 9 if we want to make that into denominator of 2. That was a denominator of 1, so this is 18. That ends up being like 15 halves. Okay, so 18 minus 3 was 15. Okay, here, again, we have a negative in front and a fraction. So to get rid of the negative, we just flip all those signs. So instead of negative 1/2 x, I have 1/2 x. Instead of plus y, I have minus y. Instead of positive 15 halves, I have negative 15 halves. And looking up at our last problem, to get rid of the fraction, we multiply by the denominator. So look at the denominator. We have fractions in 2 places. We both have a denominator of 2. So I'm going to take this whole thing, and we're going to multiply by 2. Okay? So our new, so 2 times 1/2 is just 1x. So those canceled out. Minus 2 times y. And then if we're multiplying this by 2, those 2's cancel on the bottom and get negative 15. So here is our new equation. Okay, so guys, really, there's a lot of manipulating you have to do here. You have to make sure that the ax and by, you have to make sure the x and the y are on the same side. No fractions, no negatives. Okay, taking something and writing an equation in standard form. So for this, the easiest way is to start in slope intercept and then just change it. So we need y equals mx plus b. We need to find our m and our b. So the easiest one, where is it going to hit that x or that y axis? Well, if we just keep going, we can see it's going to hit at that next coordinate, which looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our slope is our rise over run. So we go down 2 over 1. So our slope is negative 2. These are things you should know. So we have y equals negative 2x plus 4. So start and slope intercept form. Okay. Now we are going to convert to standard form. Okay. So we have y equals negative 2x plus 4. We want to get it to that ax plus by equals c form. So here, if we look at this, we just need to get that x over to the other side because we need this x over here. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Now I have 2x plus y equals, that cancels, equals 4. Okay, so just converting it over to standard form. If you look at it, there's no fractions and there's not a negative in the front, which means we're good. Okay. Write an equation of a line. So write an equation of the specified line. So this blue line, guys, this is a horizontal line, and it hits this y-axis. So we know that this is going to be a y equals line. And here it says, oops, this is at y equals negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4. Y equals negative 4. And that's it. This red line, guys, is a vertical line, which we know it's going to hit this x-axis, and it hits the x-axis at 4. So this is x equals 4. That's it. All right, for this one, guys, I'm going to have you stop and try this yourself, and then I'll show you my work. You had some time to try this yourself. So we know that we want to write an equation in standard form, so that's ax plus by equals c. A large raft is $100. Small raft is $40. You have $1,600 to spend. So I picked x for large and y for small, and I write this equation. So $100 times my large rafts plus $40 times my small rafts, and I have $1,600 to spend. Then B asks if we buy 12 rafts, how many small ones we'll be able to do. So I just put in 12 for x because it's 12 large, and I solved my equation here, and I got 10 small rafts. C, guys, is varied answers. You just pick something for X or Y and solve for the other.